So as many of y'all already know, in my last video, we went over the best controller settings in Valorant, what you should be using and what you should be avoiding. Dampen shooting sensitivity. Okay, that was arguably the worst fake cough ever, but what really surprised me about that video was just the sheer amount of comments from people who were saying things like this. Yeah, his bullets were going to the heavens. Now, I know most of you guys probably aren't that new to the game, but the point still stands. There were a lot of comments asking for tips, asking how the hell do I play the game? So I got y'all with 10 really good ones in this video, and these are going to be very good for new players, but even if you're, Ascendant, Immortal, whatever, you might still learn something from this video because Valorant's a game where there's always more to learn. I'll just put it that way. Okay, so starting this video off at number 1, we have the most important thing in Valorant, shooting your gun. And I know what you're probably thinking right now, Grav, I already know how to shoot my gun, why is this even in the video? Well, the amount of people I see doing this, or this, it has to stop, boys. It has to stop. Why are we spraying and why are we strafing in Valorant? That is not how you aim. You're going to be missing a lot of shots, and if you do hit a shot, it's based off pure luck, because look at that right there. I got the headshot, but at what cost? I just wasted 20 bullets, missed about 37 times, and by then, I'm dead. The correct way to shoot your gun, and I promise you this is the only way, is to strafe, stop, line up your shots, and then shoot. That's all you have to do. Just make sure you're stopped before you're shooting, and never fire more than, either just a quick little tap headshots, or, a burst of like 3 to 5 shots. If you do more than that, you're probably going to miss everything, and the other guy's going to kill you before you kill him. It's how the game is. I do want to point out that you can be a little bit more reckless, with your taps and your sprays with the Phantom, but that still does not mean, shoot like this. Don't ever do that, otherwise you're not going to win any games. Moving on to the second tip, this is going to be finding a good crosshair. A good crosshair is very important to playing this game, and if you have the default crosshair, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not very personalized and it's not as precise as a lot of the other options. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that there is definitively a best crosshair because that would just be a flat out lie, but take this for example right here. So I'm using a crosshair that I would say is a little bit more on the bulky side, and I'm looking at this dummy right here. Notice how when my crosshair is right over this guy, I can barely see him at all. Just imagine if he was strafing around the corner, and that's what I'm looking at. Who do y'all think is going to win that fight? The guy who can see him, which, he can see me, I can't see him, or me who has their screen looking. I'm not winning, all right? I'm just going to be honest. I'm getting head tapped right here, and there isn't shit I can do because I can't see the guy. Whereas if I have something simple like this nice dot right here, that is going to be a much easier fight for me because I'm going to clearly see him strafe around the corner, and then I'm going to be like, boom, headshot just like that, and it's easy. Moving on to tip number 3, this kind of coincides with tip number 2 a little bit. This is just going to be all about crosshair placement. Now, I see a lot of people playing ranked looking like this, alright? And I'm an Ascendant right now, I'm not the highest rank in the world or anything, but you would think by Ascendant, people would not have their reticle looking at people's kneecaps and their ankles and their nasty socks, bro. You would think it'd be a little bit better. Because generally speaking, you want to keep your crosshair at head level, which is about the same as these green boxes right here. Now, obviously, certain features of the map, like a staircase, that could make things a little bit complicated. You're just going to need to remember to aim a little bit higher to compensate for that. But you would be surprised at, like I said, just how many people are aiming here. And it's such an easy mistake to fix. But you really should only be aiming at mid-level if you're using, an operator. Otherwise, always, and I mean always, aim for those headshots. Moving on to tip number 4, we have clearing angles. Now, y'all might be thinking, what do I mean by that? But I'll show you, all right? The amount of people I see in ranked clear angles like this, it's just horrible, man. It is just horrible because why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Because y'all gotta think from this perspective, right? If I'm the enemy and there's a guy slow walking around the corner, I'm gonna see his gun stick out. I'm gonna see half his body before he even knows I'm here. So what's gonna happen? I'm just gonna, and then the guy's dead. What is he gonna do about that? How you should clear corners is move as much as possible without making, a footstep noise. So you want to slow walk, but you want to swing a little bit while you do it, and you want to clear each corner, individually, one by one. So then, boom, as soon as I swing the corner, I can start shooting at this guy, and it's a very sudden movement, when I go around the corner. Because like I said, if I'm just doing this, I'm going to get cooked every time because it's just so predictable, it's so slow, and that guy has way more time to react than I do. Now, coming in at tip number 5, this has absolutely nothing to do with the next tip because you actually should not be moving in these scenarios. I'm talking about defense and post-plant. For those who don't already know what I'm talking about, post-plant is just when your team has control of the site and you have planted the bomb. Now, what you absolutely should not do in this scenario is start swinging angles looking for kills. But what do a lot of people do? Exactly that. They start swinging angles looking for kills, and what happens? A couple of them get ran over. Now it's like a 4v2 situation, and the other team is going to have a much easier time getting onto site and defusing this bomb, whereas if you just held angles and played defense, you would have been completely fine, and they would have had to push you first. Really, the only thing you should ever be doing on defense and post plant is just finding a good spot and then holding an angle. Obviously, coordinate with your team so you're not leaving anything, unwatched, because that does happen sometimes where two people are watching the same spots and then y'all get ran over because of that. But at the end of the day, just coordinate with your team. Have one person watch pretty much every entry if possible. If you're down a couple players, that might be a little bit harder to do. But if it's a tie game, 4v4, whatever it may be, it shouldn't be a problem. Coming in at number 6, we have finding your agents. Now, what I mean by that is when you're playing ranked, you don't want to be on a new character every single game. You don't want to be trying out new characters in ranked because what that does is it essentially throws the game for your team. And that's not, that's not your fault. It's just if you don't know how to play a character, how do you expect to perform on that character? Instead, what you should be doing is really trying to master 2 or 3 agents and then playing those in ranked every single time. Using new agents is something you should be doing in, TDM, Swift play, getting a feel for them, and then taking them into ranked. And also, if you ever are in the situation where you're on agent select and everybody you're comfortable playing has been taken, don't be afraid to dodge just, one ranked game. Obviously, don't dodge every game because, you dodge too many, you will get, a temporary ban. But if you have to dodge a game here and there because you just genuinely are not comfortable playing, a character that you are forced to play because you can't play anybody else, don't be afraid to dodge that game. Moving on to number 7, we have communication. Now, this one is very big because even if you don't have a mic, you can still communicate with your teammates. While pinging isn't exactly a close second, it is miles better than doing absolutely nothing for your team, because if you're getting hard pushed by like 3 people and you just do absolutely nothing, your team's going to rotate late, and chances are you've already lost that round because you've given the other team sight, and now they've planted the bomb, which it's not going to be looking too good. Also, while we're on the topic of communication, it's very important that you don't mute your teammates unless you absolutely have to. Obviously, if they're throwing out racial slurs and yelling into the mic every 2 seconds, yes, by all means, mute them, but otherwise, try to keep everybody unmuted because you might be missing out on very useful comms if you don't. Now, coming in at tip number 8, this one is actually very, very simple, but a lot of people skip out on it, and them skipping out on it could just be the very reason that they're losing games. It's just warming up. Really, how hard is it to play, 2 or 3 TDM games before you, go into ranked, or even go into the range, set the bots to medium, set the bots to hard, and just shoot a few bots? How hard is that? Because I'm going to be honest, if you have the time to commit to at least a couple of ranked games, you have the time to warm up a little bit. Really, 20 to 30 minutes is not going to hurt at all, and it's going to make you play so much better. You're going to thank me. I promise. If you don't warm up and you start warming up, you are going to thank me for just emphasizing how big of a deal it is. Moving on to tip number 9, we have avoiding tilt. Now, for those of you who don't know what the term tilt means, it's just when you get really mad at the game and you start playing like shit. It happens to all of us. One game you might be going 26-10, absolutely carrying your team, and then the next game you're losing 10-0 and you are going 3-20, having the worst game of your Valorant career. It happens. Now, if you're noticing that you're getting tilted in the middle of a game, it's very important that you do whatever you can to just calm down and support your team. Even if that means just staying alive, camping an angle, holding a flank, whatever it is, if you know that you're not playing good, try to find a way that can help your team and, just try to keep it together. And on the flip side of that, if it's after a game and you're just very, very mad about the game you just lost, I would suggest, taking a little break and then going into a game in like 10 or 15 minutes, maybe play another TDM real quick to just re-warm up and just get your brain off of it, because if you're playing tilted, I promise you it just keeps spiraling and you're just going to keep playing worse and worse that day. Now, coming in for the final tip of this video, we have maintaining good vibes. And I know that tip sounds like crazy because it's not really anything related to the game, but I promise you guys, when you get into a lobby and all 5 of you guys are joking around, just having a good time, you are going to play so much better. You're going to have so much more synergy as a team than if you have, maybe a couple of you guys are cool and then you have an asshole on your team who's just yelling at you guys every 2 seconds. That is not going to help anybody out. Now, obviously, if you have a teammate making, very uneducated and bad plays, you don't want him to continue doing that, but there is a right and a wrong way to get them to stop. Let me just create an example for you guys real quick. Let's say I have an Omen on my team and his smokes really aren't the best. If I tell that Omen, you're dog shit, man, like what the fuck are you doing? Is that going to motivate him to play better, or is he just going to get tilted and then it's just going to downward spiral? Like, it's not going to be good if you come at your teammate like that. If you come at it like this and say, Omen, yo, those smokes, man, like you got to move those here and here, and then you ping where to smoke. What do you guys think is going to be a more effective approach? The first one or the second one? It's little things like that that make such a big impact in your rank games. You wouldn't even really think about, honestly, like half of the things on this list, but just doing them and applying them to your games, it's going to help you guys out a lot. Anyways, though, that is pretty much going to be everything that I have for today's video. If you guys did enjoy it, I would greatly appreciate it if you left a like and a comment letting me know what you thought. I will obviously be posting more Valorant content in the future. Anyways, it's been Gravely. Peace.